Welcome back to All Things Acura. Justin, it's been a minute.
It has been a minute, Matt. We fell off the rails for just a bit.
It's mostly my fault. I have to do some traveling in my
Go
life.
ahead, yeah. Tell them you were on vacation.
I was on vacation. I don't have. If you see me, I have a little bit of darker skin and
you're peeling.
A little bit. Yeah,
yeah.
So just. So anyway,
people listening won't be able to see that, which is probably a benefit, right?
That's right.
So it's probably a good thing.
I kind of left you on your own. You tried to do one and it failed.
Yeah,
but,
it bombed. We didn't get it put together, so sorry about that. We'll get caught up to speed, but Acura just announced some big news at Monterey, right?
Yes, at Monterey.
And
it's funny, as you know, we have all these episodes, and then some things happen, and all of a sudden I leave for like a week, and it explodes.
And then that's when
right?
the news comes out.
That's when maybe one of the biggest news pieces Acura has ever had.
Arguably, this will be, and I say will be because it's kind of a bit into the future. I know right now, if you're paying attention and you're in the market, this is probably big news, and it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it is happening a little bit later.
It is happening. It's something that Acura, over the past year and over the course of the gas prices going up, we've had a lot of people come in asking, do we have hybrids or do we have an electric car, or when's the plans for that? And for a while, there was nothing. I had nothing to say.
So we should probably tell them what's happening.
We should tell them what's happening. I thought we should wait till the end of this thing. That way people have to listen to the entire time.
Just hang on to your seats. It's coming.
Right. Just like the car's coming.
Just like the car, right. Don't hold your breath, though.
Right. So Acura announced their first all-new electric vehicle coming to the market in sometime, it says, in 2024.
So to cut to the chase, just to be fair, as Matt would like to say, just to be fair,
yes,
they're not announcing. They've already announced that the electric vehicle was coming in 2024. Mm-hmm. What they did announce was the name.
The name, which we all thought was, I don't know. Are they gonna come out with another car this year under the radar without us knowing? So the ZDX nameplate is coming back.
But he thought it would be called the ADX. And if you go back probably just 6 months ago, that's probably what every media source said. Oh, here's the new name of the next Acura.
Their CDX was hanging out there too for a while. CDX, I think ADX and CDX were both names, because CDX, they had bought the naming rights for that.
Right.
So who knows? But yeah, here we are back with the ZDX.
ZDX. So to walk down history and memory lane a little bit on the ZDX.
Because we love nostalgia.
We love nostalgia. It's shocking that they picked the ZDX as the vehicle. Now, it was a unique vehicle. It probably was a touch ahead of its time in the marketplace. This was probably the shortest production run vehicle Acura and Honda has ever made.
Any vehicle, maybe.
Many vehicles. And I'm
going to skip ahead here because the unique thing about this car, which I didn't know, so the old ZDX and the new ZDX is being styled in the same Acura design studio.
Well, so that was the true mile marker, or the true stone for the ZDX. I can't think of what the right terminology would be. That was the first car designed completely in their California design studio. Was the ZDX. And unfortunately, the person that designed it probably got fired a long time ago. But it had some revolutionary pieces to it, and it probably was a good exercise in the brand.
It was. And, it's funny because that was a great example of what form over function looks like. Ultimately, that car, the form.
Absolutely.
I think that's why people liked it. It was different. It was unique. But the function was not good.
The function was horrible. And so the people that could actually afford it, I don't know and a lot of people probably forgot the ZDX, but back in 2010, it was kind of expensive back in the day, and I think we were talking about this earlier today. It was in the mid-50s for ZDX, and that may not sound like a lot today, but you rewind 12 years ago, and it was more expensive than MDX and a lot of other cars on the market.
Right.
And so then you combine that with what Matt just said, the lack of practicability. If that's
new words. We're
going
to start writing down new words.
We're just going to make it up. If there is such a thing as practicability. So it was a two-door SUV. I mean, it had four doors, but the back seat was barely usable.
There were some stories I know. We had some taller gentlemen that worked here, and getting in and out of it was not a thing.
Yeah.
So you had to get a shoehorn to get them out. But
and in the cargo area, it was very tight and small.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like really high.
Really high. You could barely get a set of golf clubs in it. Matter of fact, they had a little compartment you could pull apart too, so the golf clubs could go in.
So that part, not to get ahead of what my opinions are so far, but that part makes me a little nervous.
It does.
Because and as we're reading, what people's comments are, we're trying to get a feel for what's out there so far on the car, and people seem to just absolutely have apparently loved the ZDX.
Well, all 6,000 of them that bought it were the only ones that loved it. Everybody else said no thanks. And that's funny because we had talked about that a little bit before, and I know I watched another person on YouTube that does a great job with Honda Acura vehicles and talking about. And he had mentioned that he loves the ZDX, one of his favorite cars. And I'm like, clearly this wasn't a favorite car of a lot of people. And if you were in the showroom like I was, listening to people as they just railed us up and down because of the space and the size and the cost and everything else with this car, that it clearly wasn't anybody's favorite.
Right.
But now that you look back, nostalgia rears its ugly head.
There's someone who is a psychologist around here in the comments. If there's some type of theory that goes along with remembering things of the past being so great and nostalgia, if there's something that is along those lines, let me know what it is, because I'm curious how that affects us.
And to come back with the name and everybody go, oh my gosh, I love the ZDX. It was unbelievable. No. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the sales just didn't do it. I mean,
So
it was a unique car, though.
For sure. And I actually have, to this day, have yet to drive one. I guess, to be fair, there's not very many out there to even potentially put your hands on. And but yeah, so obviously that's the huge news. We'll get into a little bit about what this car is going to be all about. Obviously, the ZDX nameplate coming back. One of the biggest things, the second thing they kind of announced was the fact that they're coming out. There's a Type S variant. So Acura's obviously they have their sights set high on bringing out the performance of these vehicles. So that's going to be a big piece of that as well.
So what's this car all about? Well, this is built on the shared General Motors platform.
Yep.
That is also being used on the Cadillac Lyriq, the Honda Prologue.
I almost want to say Prelude every time.
Catch myself. And then apparently the Blazer as well. So it's going to underpin a lot of different vehicles.
Yep.
And if you just go back and look and see what those vehicles, because the Lyriq I think is the first one that's going to come to play, and to bring up the Lyriq again, which I think Cadillac's already put on the market to pre-sell. Mm-hmm. They've already sold out all the rear-wheel drive versions of that vehicle for 2024.
Jeez.
And it doesn't come out till 2024 as well, which I was surprised.
Yeah, they've been talking about that car for a while now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, you can actually see some reviews on the car. So I was kind of surprised it was that far down the road, but maybe I'm missing something there. But the point there is you can get a lot of idea of what the Acura is going to be like, because this is a joint venture.
Yeah.
So that will be the shared platform, and then Honda and Acura will develop their own after that. So then the other electric vehicles we see come out after that are going to be in-house development.
Yep.
Or partnered with whoever,
right?
But not General Motors.
Right, exactly. And Acura, their quote here says, the ZDX represents a start to what will be an accelerated path toward electrification by the end of the decade. So, and then it says the global goal is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, which is kind of crazy to think about that far in advance. I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, we won't be doing this. And if we are, well...
Who knows? That's interesting. But it kind of, obviously that's their goal now, and this is the beginning of that. So it's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if they actually do come out with the car in 2024. I know we talked a little bit about timeline as to when that we think we might see it.
Yeah, so it does say it's going to be out in 2024. It doesn't say it's going to be a 24 model, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people get confused is they see 2024. You assume that that's going to be a 2024 model, and you assume that. Well, they usually bring them out a year ahead of time, right? So 2023, we're a year away. Cool, it's coming.
Right.
Probably not. It says it's coming out in 2024. It doesn't say it's going to be a 24 model. It could be a 25 model.
Could be. Yeah,
Right,
absolutely. Yeah, it could.
We don't know.
Exactly. It could come out late 2024.
To circle back to the beginning of this whole thing, the picture and everything that they're releasing is the concept. So there is a picture. There's some information out there that actually, if you get on Acura's website, you can see a picture of it. And so this is the in-house. We've been doing this a little bit of a while. That is a concept. It's not what the car is going to look like.
Right. So similarly to the precision concept that Acura had at the Detroit Auto Show, I think was it 2016?
Yeah.
I think it's when they first, or 15 or 16 when they first showed that. And that car is not a car. That car does not exist. Obviously, what they do, and manufacturers do this, they say, okay, here's the design language we're going to use. We're going to take cues from this, vehicle or this car and apply it to our production cars. So, I almost look at the electric vehicles, and this is, maybe true of all manufacturers. This is the beginning hub for the electrification vehicles that Acura will use. They're going to say, all right, we're going to make maybe some sedans or some SUVs, but they're going to be based upon this idea right here.
So it looks like with having a regular and a Type S trim, if you go back and look and see what the Cadillac has to offer as far as powertrains, there is a rear-wheel drive or a single motor powertrain, which has about 350 horsepower, 340 I think to be exact. And that's going to probably be similar to maybe what this has as a regular, ZDX, and then they had to have a ZDX Type S, which, again, to correlate that to the Cadillac would be a dual motor and a 500 horsepower. Right. Altogether, right now the Lyriq is estimated to be released with, and I say released, it's not out yet, with a 312 mile range, and that's in the single motor. So you go to a dual motor, a lot more power, you're probably going to eat up some of that range. But it's gotten some good reviews though. It's really, if you watch some of the stuff out there, what they have to say about it, it's gotten some good reviews. They're going to have their own touch. It's not going to look like the Cadillac. It won't have the Cadillac interior or features.
Right. It's really just the platform.
It's really just a platform.
People need to remember that. Yeah,
and platform's such a scarce word. I almost wish that didn't exist in our industry because I don't think people understand really what that means. They think, oh, okay, so if you take the Cadillac badge off and you put on an Acura, no, I'm sorry, that's still not what that means.
No.
Right? So, and back to the ZDX, and I'm not going to get this off my chest because it's just driving me nuts. Because every time I bring up the word ZDX, they go, oh yeah, I remember the Honda Crosstour. That was the same car.
Yeah.
I said, no, it was not. No. So, just to be clear, so everybody understands, the ZDX was an MDX platform. It was really an MDX with a new skin on it. Honda Crosstour was an Accord. It was really an Accord wagon.
Right, exactly.
It was based off a completely different platform. So the ZDX shares more with the Honda Pilot than it does the Crosstour.
Exactly.
And I think everybody says, well, it was the same funky looking car, right? That was
sure.
Yeah. Okay. And they came out around the same time. No, yeah, they did.
Justin, every car has four wheels too. I shouldn't say every car, but most cars have four wheels.
Most.
Yeah, you can. Whatever, platform, that's such a ubiquitous word that it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's not the same car.
Yeah, it's not the same car. So
it doesn't matter.
But hopefully you understand that now. And the ZDX had some really neat characteristics about it, which hopefully Acura learned from and did a lot of neat things. So we're going to see a lot of neat stuff out of this. You'll see in the pictures, if you go on Acura.com, we might put some pictures here for you. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're not going to see anything. But they have a picture of the cockpit, Matt, and you see that there's no steering wheel. It's like a yoke.
Great. Love the yoke.
There's no yokes coming for the first EV for Acura. I don't know that for sure, but I'm 98.9% sure. I'll leave 1% out there for them throwing a yoke in there.
I would just that's that 1%. You know what? You guys fooled me this time.
Right. I'll throw a yoke in there at 1% because I think Tesla has a.
They do. Yeah, they have a yoke, and I can't imagine that safety wise, it's that. I couldn't imagine it's better to have a yoke than it is a steering wheel, and Acura, and Honda being all about safety. My guess is that won't be the case.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. But you can get a little bit idea of cockpit language, and again, it's just a design direction, as Matt said. It's not what the car's going to look like. So what do we think it's going to look like? Well, like I said, the overall silhouette might be similar to
Yep.
Cadillac because of the size and the stance are
Right.
probably similar.
Yep.
It will be sized right between the current RDX and the MDX. So if
Yep.
you want to get a feel, okay, what's this car going to be like? Well, it's going to be kind of a mid-size SUV.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mid-size
Okay.
SUV, something, almost kind of like how the MDX was before they, remember we talked about that, the MDX before they redesigned it. It was almost, a lot of people almost used it as a 5-passenger vehicle.
Yeah, probably
So
more so than...
It'll probably be similar to that in some sense, is my guess. But obviously the design language is pretty, there's a lot of styling to it. It has some sharp lines. And as Justin told me earlier, which I did not realize, it's designed based on...
Oh, yeah, an Italian boat.
Italian boats.
I didn't know Italian boats looked a whole lot different than American boats. But
I found...
they do, I guess.
I found that kind of odd. I mean, we're Acura. I think if they said like, well, this is maybe a Maserati, this is the Maserati electric car, we're going to design it after Italian boats. Some other connection there. But
Right,
it's like,
right.
We're just going to use this connection here.
Yeah. To the best of our knowledge, it's still a Japanese company. So maybe
Right.
maybe we can design it after something that's
Yeah.
Japanese heritage. We'll dive deeper down the electrics as they're coming. We're still a ways out.
Yeah,
Like
for
we
sure.
said, we're a year and a half, 2 years before. We'll probably know more information between now and then, but before this thing's on the ground and we can really dive into it. But one thing about the talk, just recently they talked about the EV tax credits have really been jumbled up now, depending on a lot of different variables. But where the car is built, as far as how much American content, have a lot to do with that. So that'll be an interesting fact to look up, just to tie that back to what you.
Yeah,
what you
well,
said.
sure. It's there's so much out there, and this is the first time really us discussing this since I've been back. And so there was a lot to kind of take in there and kind of digest and figure out. I know everyone's going to be excited. We've already started getting, people,
Yeah, so if you get on the Acura website, you can actually put your name on a list for information, and do so if you're interested. I don't know what kind of information they're going to provide. They sent us the information of the people that were interested already in it, which is fine. But we don't have a whole lot of information to give them yet, nor will we probably for a little while.
Right.
I'm sure as time goes on, they'll start to slowly release that information. I know dealers have a long ways to go to get up to speed to be ready for the EV vehicles,
true.
but we're getting there, and we know they're coming, and we're all in in touch with that. So,
And I'm probably not going to put your name on a list.
right. So that was the other piece of that. So today, I guess, okay, what's this all about? What do we know so far? This is what we know as a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
What the other pieces? I wouldn't probably run into your dealer and say, hey, I want to be on the list. I want to reserve one. You can't do it yet. We're not going to take your money yet. Maybe somebody else will. I'd be cautious to that.
Right.
It could be a while. I mean, we don't
2
know how
years
long
maybe?
it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, and cost wise. So I did do some snooping around on the Cadillac site just to see where that was, and I guess they initially released that at $60,000, $59,995 or whatever. Sold out at that price for the single rear wheel drive single motor. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Sold out at that price. The new price is $63,000 or $62,995. So they raised it $3,000, which I get it. They sell at one price. So expect the Acura to fall somewhere between $60,000 and $65,000.
Yeah, I'd agree. I still feel like that's
they'll bring
a
it
pretty
back.
good price for that. I mean, you look at an MDX now, and they're really basically at $60,000.
Sure.
So it won't be that big of a difference. And the other interesting thing, I'm glad you brought that up one more time, was the fact that I'm wondering if Acura is going to go with an all-wheel drive version, or I'm sorry, a rear-wheel drive version is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Well, here this is this is where we're going to show our true colors of not knowing EVs as much as maybe some, because
true.
we don't have it.
Right.
But I imagine the dual motor is what's going to give it the extra power. Sure. Right. So which automatically will make it I'd say automatically. It doesn't have to, but the way this platform's designed makes it an all-wheel drive vehicle, where the single motor won't be an all-wheel drive. So
Is Acura going to do front wheel drive though? Like, that's interesting.
I wouldn't think so. And just because, I think they take this opportunity to use the same platform instead of trying to, A, it would cost quite a bit of money to engineer that as a front wheel drive. But two, well, here, the critics have been beaten on Acura for, their whole entire life. Because they don't want to make a rear wheel drive vehicle. And I know Acura has a whole lot of reasons for that. And
Valid reasons.
Valid reasons for not making a rear wheel drive vehicle and then offering an all wheel drive. So I wouldn't see them fighting that. They're like, okay, there it is. There's your rear wheel drive.
Probably, yeah. It'll just be interesting to talk about that, I guess.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be a first to first. There will be a lot of first here.
It will, right, for a lot of us here.
So the last little piece of maybe good news is that they did talk about this, and so which is surprising that they mentioned this is they talked about it'll display some of Acura's new touch screens.
What?
I did say touchscreen.
Excuse you?
Yeah.
Touchscreen.
Because they were talking about the haptic feedback.
What's a touchscreen?
Which I don't care for haptic feedback.
I don't either.
That's when your screen vibrates when you touch it, just for the people that don't know what that meant. And you might not, whatever. But the point of all that is that didn't say touchpad. So I don't know if they're going to use something in conjunction with the touchpad or they're going to drop the touchpad.
I think they're going to...
I don't think they're going to drop it. But it's Acura's choice. And so that could be some other good news. So there's some exciting stuff here. Obviously, it's a ways out. Don't run to your dealership quite yet, your local dealer quite yet. We'll try to keep you posted. I promise you, as information comes out and as we get it, we'll get it out there. Every site seems to know everything about this car, and that's wonderful. But there's really nothing to know yet. What's out there, what you see, is just a concept. They haven't released any mechanical information yet, and we'll pass that along as we get it.
We had no idea this was a thing until last week when they announced it.
Yeah, they announced.
I think it was like a cryptic social media post.
Yeah, and there really were. In fairness to them, they were just announcing the name. So the name turned into big long articles and media released for all this other stuff, but it really was just a name.
And I do want to commend Acura for this a little bit. I think sometimes they do hold too much close to the chest, which they probably are here a little bit. But I'm glad that they actually said, you know what, we need to really get into the forefront of this, because they were kind of getting behind with all the electrification outputs out there. Right?
Yeah, and I think they had more up their sleeve. They were holding back, like you said. They hold back, and they realized that the market was sharing information farther. Cadillac being an example. And I wouldn't be surprised if Acura doesn't do this pre-sale. Yeah. In other words, Cadillac pre-sold their first year of the Lyriq. And again, that comes out in 2024 or thereabouts.
Yeah, right.
So it's almost same time frame away, but it's pre-sold. Right. And Acura hasn't sold one yet, right? So I do see maybe sometime as we move into next year or towards the end of next year that they do offer some type of put your deposit down, here's what's going to be available type stuff. So we do see that. We'll let you know as time goes on and things come out with that. So anything else that you think that people need to know right now, Matt, about the car or what we know?
No, I do know. We just love to hear ourselves talk, though, as some people comment.
Yeah, they do. And we might have rambled a little bit on that, but there's a lot of information to kind of go through.
You can fast forward or not listen to us.
Or not listen to it. We're just going to tell you what we know. And that's, again, back to we probably should start this. Gosh, we will get this right. We should probably started the podcast this way. 25 minutes later. But we are literally just going to share with what we know as dealers. You can listen to all the other media sources out there, but they're copy and pasting what they think they know. Yeah. They're not telling you what we do know.
And so much of it is opinion based. It just is.
Sure.
But yeah, this is what we get, and I'm sure they have access to that too. And really, the only people that know are the people who probably are designing the car or work for Acura. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So
very good point. So as more information comes out, we'll definitely get it out there. Any comments, feedback, love to hear about it. Yeah. We know Acura was a little late to the party on talking about or really getting into the nitty gritty with the EV future plans. But it's
zero emissions.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Z for zero.
Yeah, and again, that picture of what's there is not what you're gonna get. Be something similar. Maybe there'll be a resemblance. Maybe you could call it its brother, sister, or something, whatever. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. Sorry it's been so long. We've been busy with lives and things like that. But thank you again so much for listening. Stay tuned, and we'll get some more information out there. Make sure to like, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or I don't know. I think you can give us ratings on the other podcast sources. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. So thank you again so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.